Hello, hello. I'm Joanna Walden. I'm a visionary transformation specialist, speaker, and author. Welcome to this presentation on heart technology. Um, I'm going to tell you all about it when we get into the presentation, but just a little side note is that I was inspired to redo this presentation and record it for a wider audience so that everybody could benefit. I originally did this presentation for the Cosmic Consciousness Conference in Uluru in Australia last December over the solstice, which was such a beautiful community, and I met so many wonderful people. And, by the time I got to present, it was on the last day of the conference and in the afternoon. So they were running out of time. So I never got to do the full energy activation experience that went at the end of the presentation for everybody. So I was inspired to record it for everyone there so that they could get the full experience. But also then I was really guided to share it with a wider audience. And so hence here it is on my YouTube channel for you right now. And so I'd be so appreciative if you appreciate this video yourself and you benefited from it. If you wouldn't mind leaving a comment or liking it, subscribing to the channel, or sharing it with your friends. Spirit have been so on my case about how important heart technology is for us all at the moment, and really getting it out there. I think people have these ideas about what the heart is and this kind of like pansy kind of idea about it, and it's really not that at all. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this with you all. And yeah, if you like it, let me know. I really enjoy hearing your feedback and any questions that you might have as well. So I'm going to share my screen and start to get into it. Well, I'll introduce myself for those who don't know me a little more. Okie dokie. Beautiful. So just get my screens behind the scenes set up properly. So that I've got my speaker notes as well. Go. Perfect. Hope everyone is doing amazing. It's actually just the end of February 2025. I presented this in December 2024, but I've been presenting and talking about technology for a really long time, and I'll get into why shortly. But here we go. So, I actually did this, as I said, in Uluru, and it wasn't my first time in Uluru. I'd been guided to go there a few years beforehand. Not long after heart technology actually came into my awareness in the forefront of my experience. And I do a lot of work at sacred sites. I also do retreats, helping people connect into that. It's very much a part of my work. And so, it all really ties together in such an important way. And, heart technology is really so foundational and such the key for all of us right now. But let me tell you how it all began. So here, the slide. Basically, in 2017, I was visited by some very large light beings who, were standing in my vicinity. This was happening in my dream space. I get a lot of interaction with my dream space. I've been on ships and given devices by galactic beings and interacted with all manner of guides and been trained and all sorts of stuff. It's a really profound space that I work with. And in this particular dream, and I could kind of tell the difference between a dream that is in that space of interacting with other spiritual and galactic beings and energies, and a kind of normal human processing dream. And we get both, absolutely, but a lot of my awareness and teachings come through in the dream space. And so in this particular dream, I was sitting there with these really large light beings who were towering over me. And I was sitting like I am now, actually. And I was saying, but what about this ancient meditation technique? And they were like, no. I was like, but what about this healing modality? And they said, no. They said, it's not about any of that. And I said, but what about, and they cut me off completely. And they literally said, there is nothing as effective or important as the heart. The key is, and always has been, the heart. You know, they said it was always about the heart. It is only about the heart, and it will only ever be about the heart. It is all about heart technology. Heart technology is everything you need. And, you know, when I woke up, it was so incredibly vivid and significant that I thought, what the hell is heart technology? And so I put it into Google, and a whole bunch of cardiac equipment showed up, which is obviously not what I was looking for at all, but obviously quite funny as well. And since then, I was led on a journey, you know, a vision quest over the next really years, into what heart technology really truly meant. And they were giving me the experience of it so I could understand these different aspects and elements of it for myself. And through that process, it became the foundation of all of my work. In my work, my one-to-one consciousness coaching with clients, and my channeling work that I do, where I bring through messages and information for people or groups of, you know, and that kind of thing, and for my events, and for, you know, just everything I do, where I work at sacred sites. I mean, it is literally so fundamental. And I'll get into the ins and outs of why that is soon. Hope that's not bothering. There's an alarm going off, and I really hope it's not bothering. I hope it's sort of drowning into the background of the Zoom suppression. But anyway, where was I before that? Well, I was in a high-flying career on Madison Avenue, actually, halfway around the world from New Zealand, where I am now and where I was born. And, you know, while I was in this career, you know, I got led into it. My dad was in advertising. I'd grown up around it. You know, I worked on Madison Avenue for 6 years, you know, really burning the candle at both ends, and then on to London. And, you know, I really just felt like, although I was quite, you know, pretty good at advertising actually, and I actually really enjoyed it, quite loved it, but there was something missing for me. And in the deepest depths of my heart, I knew that there was more. And I knew that that wasn't really what my focus was meant to be on this planet. And, you know, ever since then, I left and explored and went around the world on a relentless pursuit of the heart, which took me on wild adventures, which I wrote about in my first book. And, you know, it brought out this kind of like, you know, this part of me that was really just so deeply dedicated to finding out more of who my true self was and tapping into this mastery that I knew was in the background. When in my oops, I'm going too fast. You know, and when I came in, I always remember, even in my teenage years, that I was feeling a connection to spirit. I believed immediately in the sort of unseen realms. Although my mother was that way inclined, my dad definitely wasn't. So I really had the balance of these two elements. And, you know, part of it, when I was 17 or 18, I was really, um, you know, it was pointed out to me a little stronger. And I, you know, was going to pick up some friends at a bar across the other side of town where I never even hang out. And I was picking up some friends, and I was the sober driver, and we were going to a dance party, a light speed event. And there was a guy who was sitting with another gentleman right at the end of this bar. And I'd sort of gone in there and immediately kind of knew that I needed to go and talk to this guy. And even though I had a lighter in my pocket back in the days where I smoked cigarettes, I went up to this guy, and he immediately said, "I've been waiting for you to come to talk to me. I've got some messages for you." And I was quite taken aback, but at the same time, there was this stir of excitement within me. And he literally just went into a huge amount of information about who I truly was, about what I was doing on this planet, about the fact that I was here with a really divine purpose, and that I was more than what I thought I was at the time. And that, you know, he was a Reiki master. He was also all this other kind of things that he was telling me, but it was mainly about me. And he was telling me all these things that I knew deep within, but I was too scared to say to anybody really. But it provoked and tapped into that deep knowing that I had within myself, that we are these spiritual divine beings, that, you know, we are energy, spirit, and consciousness, that we're multidimensional beings of light. And we're here with a really great purpose at this time on the planet. And, I went to that event and, I had so much energy and I danced with absolute elation because he was telling me what I knew. And anyway, of course, as one does when they're 17 or 18, I promptly, for whatever reason, forgot about that and then went into corporate advertising and, went on the career path. But, in that sort of work hard, play hard kind of environment, I would get home at 4 in the morning and start to do channeled writing and things like that. But it did send me, it put the seeds in there. And that which at one point when I sort of was really of the knowing that I needed to move out of the corporate space and into something else, it really, I was inspired in the remembrance of that story. It sort of came flooding back and, yeah, sent me on a journey, which I wrote about in my first book, The Inside Hustle. And that's a mystical misfits travel adventure into the unknown. It literally takes you around the world into my adventures. So it starts off in New York, actually, during 9/11, and then continues on when I leave New York and I go off and become a pilgrim through the north of Spain on the Santiago de Compostela. I arrive in London after that, have a bit of a midlife crisis, climb Mount Kilimanjaro at one point, then head to South America, and then finally back to New Zealand. And, it goes really into the depths of my personal journey of evolution. But it's more like Bridget Jones meets Eat, Pray, Love on steroids. It's the unconventional path from dark to light, or sex, drugs, and spirituality. It is really, really a fun read. It's on audiobook on Audible with my dulcet tones, which carry the frequency, which make it incredibly powerful. It's also an ebook and it's available on Amazon. But yeah, it's actually got channeled writing in between the chapters that help kind of realign people as well. I've had so much feedback about how people have shifted and changed reading about my journey because it's connected, helped them connect with other aspects of their own. And then the second book I wrote is A Beautiful Radical Truth, completely different, a total channeled book of wisdom that will really challenge your consciousness, as it certainly does mine still, and also has energetic practices, like some of which that I do in my work with clients, uh, that were shared with everybody for them to tap into. Again, it's an audiobook on Audible, and also an ebook, and yeah, and a physical book if you would like to order it. But these two books, have taught me so much, even, and they just are a really good insight into various different things if you want to dive deeper. But yeah, part of my journey of the last 3 years was writing and publishing these books and putting out this new information. And it talks about the journey into heart technology, and it uses heart technology in A Beautiful Radical Truth also. Um, and so, yeah, the heart, let's get into it. Okay. It is not just a cardiac muscle in the center of our chest. It is the seat of our soul, the focal point of our inner temple. It connects us with our soul light within, our unique, significant light blueprint or signature that is unlike anybody else. And, your heart center is this center of wholeness, right? Or oneness. And it's a place that exists beyond polarities and duality. It's literally the center of our being, right? And it's the center from where we create, that seat of the soul from where we create from the soul level, right? That isn't operating in the duality of our human linear personality self experience. And, our heart is really connected to our essence because it is that center of our being. But that is found under all of the programming, all the limitations that we've been indoctrinated into growing up in this reality. And what it does is it upholds the sacred of ourselves from within, right? It's our divine template. It's part of us coming into the remembrance of ourselves as divine humans on this planet. It's our infinite light. It's our deep seated origin. It's where our truth lies, right? And it's, of course, access to where we have infinite wisdom, right? And it helps us connect to that through the heart center. It's literally where the action is. It's where we communicate with the divine intelligence in all things, God, nature, the source creator, whatever you want to call it. There is a divine intelligence that is operating. And it's so plain to see in the way everything operates, nature around you. if you come into, the awareness of synchronicities in your life, or being in the right place at the right time, all of that is the divine intelligence at work. And our heart is the key to tapping into these levels, which actually help us move forward in the pure path that we are destined. So therefore it is the compass to our destiny as well, right? And your destiny or your purpose is held in trust in your heart, because simply your purpose is your unique template. It's who and what you really are. It is nothing complicated. I think there's this tendency of people to need to find their purpose and all of that. But when we can actually sink into the space, connect through our heart to access it, we start to feel and understand more of what that truly is, right? Other than what we've been told or everything we think we are. It's coming from the deepest level of our truth within, in alignment with our infinite divine nature. And that helps us to just be naturally in alignment and flow with that which we truly are in this life. So the heart is also a portal to higher consciousness, right? Consciousness and the heart are inextricably linked. And, what's consciousness? What is, the high dimensional aspects? It's love in its most expanded, purest form as light. And, this expansion, this light, this love, this unconditionality, which we all can access, is available to us through the heart. And when we're more grounded in that heart space, it's much easier for us to access. It's much easier for us to come from that perspective and that point of view. And, anything that we are triggered by in our reality actually automatically closes our heart for safety, right? And so when we are in that closed down space, that can also signal that we're in a state of unconsciousness. And staying open and anchored through your heart, through these ups and downs of life, is actually one of the most hardest but courageous things we can do, because it means that we remain open, our heart remains open despite everything. And that's really, really so important to be able to move through things more quickly, access that infinite wisdom that we need in those moments of challenge, and move through life without so much of the stress and anxiety and trauma along the way. So when we truly love ourselves, self-love is a huge key in this heart technology, right? We truly open our heart to others. And that means that we are more connected, that we are more open to sharing our heart. We won't be in miscommunication as often, because that's what the heart is all about. And I will get into more of this, but the heart is, and how much we love ourselves is the capacity that we can show up for others, right? So when we have compassion for others, and we can, use their energy or what's happening in their experience when it's triggering us as a deep reflection of ourselves, and come into a state of neutrality and observing our stuff to keep us out of reaction, that really, really helps us navigate these times, and also gives us information about who and what we really are in all of this. And we connect with ourselves through our heart. It's this awareness of higher dimensional aspects of us that comes through our feelings and our emotions that are really connected through our heart space. And this isn't about sort of this trying to make anything happen or forcing, but it's really sinking into the space of knowing within and allowing and receiving, and using our heart space for creation, especially in a multidimensional way, because the heart is literally an untapped multidimensional technology within us. That is why it is the foundation for my work and all of the practices that I take, all of the clients and people who come into my retreats and in the sacred site activations. It is the key, because we are all multidimensional, and we are literally the technology we have been waiting for. We may think that there's all this technology and AI out there that is better than us, and it is not. There will be nothing as powerful as this incredible technology that we are all a beholder of. And the heart is really critical for opening that up even more for each and every one of us. So you probably even may have been aware that the heart has come through ancient religions in various different ways, whether it's, the ancient Egyptians, whether it's Lemurians, whether it's the Buddha. Jesus himself was a revolutionary of the heart. Sufism is also filled with heart practices. The heart is actually at the center of many religions, even though some of the teachings have been distorted and manipulated and changed over time. But the bottom line is the heart is there. It is a theme through all of them. And, it's all, fine knowing like, oh, the heart's important. But until you start practicing with it, until you start embodying it, until you really start coming into relationship with your heart, you're not truly going to know the difference. And I think there is this sort of inclination of us all to be like, oh, the heart's all like fluffy mung beans and rainbows and unicorns. That is not the heart at all. It's literally not for the faint-hearted. The heart is incredibly brutal. It calls for us to move into the most uncomfortable spaces that we may be fearful of showing up in. The heart is bold. The heart is, incredibly unconventional. It operates in a totally different way that our mind and personality self is challenged by. Okay. And so it's courageous, bold, and fearless. And it doesn't want to comply with what you think you should do, what you've been told to be, or any of that stuff. It's not this kind of cerebral definition of what we think the heart is. It's not that at all. It's really, truly so much more than that. And it's about time that we all got an experience of, really what it truly is for each and every one of us, because the heart is always going to be the thing that you can rely on the most. I think people have gotten into a place where they have been confused about what true intuition is as well, which means sometimes they're like, oh, I made that decision on my heart and it backfired or whatever, but it hasn't been. It's actually been misconstrued intuition, which is when we haven't done enough work within ourselves and we're just following what we think is our intuition. It's actually not true intuition. That is what I really often notice with clients as well, that has happened. And 90% of my clients say they are heart-centered or they're leading from the heart. And when we really start doing the work, they come to realize that that's they're operating out of a definition of what they think the heart is, not actually what it truly is. So it is quite different, I think, to sometimes what you may think. So why is the heart important? Well, it forces you to surrender. No two ways about it. It will give you a little push, right, in the direction. It forces you to surrender in so many ways, right? It forces us to surrender control because of these ideas that we are fixated to or reliant on or is in our comfort zone about who and what we are, where we're going and what's best for us, is not necessarily what the heart will agree with. And it's going to push us into that space. Interestingly, the heart circumvents all fear programming, because fear programming is a mind-based reality. It's a mind-based virus and program. So when you are in the heart, it automatically circumvents that. So isn't that interesting? The best way you can get out of fear is to be in your heart. And when you are in fear, you know you aren't in your heart. Because your heart, when you're in your heart, you feel automatically safe, right? Because it circumvents all that fear programming. And because when we do that, we're more connected to our multidimensional aspects or the higher dimensional aspects of our true nature as an infinite being of light in this reality, not as this, physical, physical vessel, which is an incredibly important part of our technology and not to be dismissed like the old spiritual teachings either, by the way. I want to be really clear about that. But the knowing of who we truly are comes through when we are in the heart. So it's really the safest space for us to be, and it creates safety within us. My book, A Beautiful Radical Truth, also talks about how we don't really realize that fear is informing us on an immense amount of the decisions that we are making through our daily life, unconsciously. So much of it is fear driven when you really boil down to it. And so being and training yourself into the heart space more often so that you are connected to your true divine nature is so, so helpful in navigating our individual path in our day-to-day lives on this reality. So the heart knows. When you're truly squarely anchored in your heart, there is no doubt, there is no fear, and there's no hope, because hope actually does not exist in the space of the heart, because you're not hoping, right? Because the heart knows. It's a knowing. So in this age of chaos and unprecedented global shifting on all layers, as the old crumbles and the new is being birthed, and we are, re-upping into a new age, this is where it is so important, where discernment is of the utmost importance. And the heart is our guiding light to be able to see through into the multidimensional layers of this reality and understand that there's far more going on beyond the black and white interpretation that we may have, or the limited perception of the interpretation of it with our 5 normal senses, right? The heart knows. The heart also demands integrity, because your, energetic information on subtle levels is being recorded and stored in not only your heart, but others' heart fields. We are moving towards being reconnecting our telepathic nature. We are actually all telepathic, and you can only actually reinstall that and start utilizing it, which a lot of us do already with animals in nature, but that's going to come back with each other. But it means that you can't hide. We are in the age of transparency. So the heart demands integrity. You have to be in integrity, because otherwise you're not truly able to access your heart. And it's so, so important where we're moving to, because the transparency is going to be there, and you are going to, all levels that we hide from within us is going to be seen. So the heart is our connection to source, God, creator consciousness, our divine nature, whatever you want to call it. And that is what we ultimately are. The heart is also important because it is the gateway to our multidimensional abilities, right? And if your heart is closed, or your walls are up, or you're not connecting and anchoring into this space, because guess what? It has a cumulative effect. The more you use it, the more you're automatically aligned there. And then you don't actually have to try to do it anymore or use practices. You're just naturally anchored in that space. But when you have the walls up, your heart's closed, you aren't in this space, and you can't access your multidimensional understanding and abilities and perception, which is going to be unique to you. Your multidimensional abilities are not going to be the same as everybody else. They're not necessarily going to be how they operate as other people or even other teachers. We are all so unique, right? And so when we are taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, and going on our own journey to understand ourself, really get into right relationship with everything going within us, then we can, upon that vision quest of the heart, explore all this more and embody it for ourselves, and really get an experience of those multidimensional abilities, which are just so fun and helpful in the nature of this reality. So, a little quote from my book, A Beautiful Radical Truth. The unknown is meant to be the 0 point, a place where you spend most of your time to optimize the potential of what is available to you. to realign you with the highest and most expanded frequency experiences that are a reflection of who you truly are. Breathe this into your heart as you allow this to resonate through you, re-engaging you with the infinite wisdom of your true self to redefine your physical reality beyond what you currently know. The heart is the 0 point. The heart and the 0 point itself is the where we create from. The heart is really the key for all of us as a creator being on this planet, whether we truly understand what that means or not. But realistically, you're creating in every moment. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be here. Your day-to-day life is part of your creation. That creating is just who and what we are. We are manifesting, as the trend goes, in every second of every day. And interestingly, I also like to point out that, if you're trying to manifest in this huge trend of like, what are you manifesting right now? Well, it's more like, what are you creating? Because we are automatic manifestors. And if you're trying to manifest something really hard, you're coming from a place of lack, which is going to be an energetic push-pull frequency and is not going to sort of help you get where you're at. It's a little bit of like misinformation and misinformed teachings around this whole manifestation trend. And that's part of what, we need discernment around these things that come up that aren't actually the full picture. Sure, it's part of it, but it's not the full picture. And, manifesting your latest sort of like car or whatever, sure, that's fine to use for your creative abilities, but is it really in alignment with your soul purpose in all of this? Well, I think it depends. It can be, but it also maybe not. So it's interesting that we have to think about all these things and be connected to the heart about what is truly important to us through it all. So if you have been exploring the heart in any way, you may have come across the Institute of Heart Math. And they are a beautiful research institute independent research institute that have been around for the last 25 to 30 years at this point. And after I had that dream and I was sent on that vision quest of the heart, of course, I came into contact with this Institute of Heart Math. They've done all this foundational scientific research on the heart and the relationship of the brain and the heart, the psychology of it, for all these years. And what was so interesting is that everything I was being taught from the spiritual realms was actually being backed up by what the Institute of Heart Math was teaching. So that was such an incredible validation for me because, I was on this journey, and I always trust in the journey, but it does help keep one motivated and on track when that happens, right? And so all of this research they've done between the heart and the brain, over 300 peer-reviewed or independent studies, with different techniques like basic heart coherence, which is so important. And actually, we start there when we go into working with heart technology. It's so interesting because they've got so much information about it, like the fact that it's the largest electromagnetic field in our body. That, who was taught that the brain was the mainframe and calling all the shots when they were at school? Well, they know now that the heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart, right? So really kind of altering our understanding and upgrading it into actually the truth of how important the heart is. And the fact that it contains over 40,000, neuron-like cells within it. And that has its own intelligence, right? That directs the brain, directs cells in our body, our DNA, all of it. And these neuron-like cells access a field of intelligence beyond the limits of physics as we know them today, right? This is the thing. It's operating beyond our interpretation of time-space reality from the linear form. And because of that, it's able to access really incredible deep states of true intuition for us. So fascinating. One of the studies that I really love about intuition and the heart and all of it from the Institute of Heart Math is that they did one of their research studies, a blind study where participants were shown, pictures. They're blindfolded and then they're shown a picture that would provoke an emotional response, right? Either a supposed positive or negative one, or contracted or expanded one, right? And what was showing was that 3 to 5 seconds before a participant even saw the picture, they were getting a reading on whether it was going to be a contracted or expanded response. So even more seconds before a negative sort of provoking thing, right? So the heart already knows what's going to happen in the future. How fascinating is that, right? So what does that mean for us about, how it's guiding us and whether we are listening and being led from the heart when it literally is this incredible untapped intelligence and technology within us that we haven't tapped into? Because why? Because, we come in with a full working model, full technology. We just don't come in with a user manual, right? So we've been working it out as we go. So this field of the heart, this biggest electromagnetic field in our body, is about 15 feet or 3 meters wide around us in all directions. It is 500 times biomagnetically and 100 times electrically more powerful than the brain. So I've seen it sort of noted as like 5,000 times, because you just times those together, right? More powerful. But this electromagnetic field, sorry, interacts with and can also be affected by, depending on how you're sitting in your own energy and light, by the earth around us, by nature, by the cosmos and space weather, by other people, by all of it, right? And interestingly, when we can harmonize our body with heart coherence, we actually harmonize to the earth. When we do the practice of heart coherence, we harmonize to the earth at the frequency of 0.1 hertz, which in turn strengthens our magnetic signal, right? Makes it really steadfast and more powerful, which is so important so that we're not getting shaken around in this day and age by what is happening outside of us. So when our consciousness, with that in alignment with our heart field, what happens is brain activity synchronizes to the heart. So that moves us into a state of alpha wave, activity. And that means we are communicating to the quantum field through our unified heart mind toroidal field. That's a toroidal, that donut shape right there. That's a toroidal field. And so that has the power when it's connecting out into the quantum field, when it's connecting interdimensionally, that connects us to these multidimensional aspects of self, right? It's so, so fascinating. And so, as I mentioned, the heart coherence practice is the starting point for us to do that. So what's heart coherence? I'm sure many of you have heard about it already. But if you have heard about it, are you actually actively practicing it in your daily life, right? It's really interesting because we have to be in a coherent state to experience our divine nature and embody our multidimensional abilities and skills. And a simple heart coherence practice, would you believe it or not, is the key to start actually activating this stuff, because it focuses you into the heart. So what does heart coherence do? Harmonizes the brain and the heart, as I mentioned. Connects us with that 0.1 hertz, because a more ordered cine wave happens when we have heart-brain coherence. Connects us to the earth, right, as I mentioned before, and is an optimal space for health, healing, and transformation. Because when we are in this heart coherent state, basically that invokes a state of homeostasis within our physical vessel. That is when we are into balance. So not only on the mental level, the physical level, the emotional level, it also is helping to balance, and our spiritual level, right? Heart coherence and operating with the heart, working out of the heart, is helping us to do all those things, right? So that's why it's extending this harmony through our body and field and connecting us beautifully into that field of the planet, which helps us feel connected into ourselves as well. And so another thing about this heart space is that it is a transceiver. It is a transceiver that can both transmit and receive information, right? So it's broadcast energy sending out essentially a Wi-Fi signal from you every second of every single day, right? Just think about that. You're literally a walking Wi-Fi, energetically communicating with everything around you through the power and magnitude of your heart. So imagine when you're in an incoherent state, how that's affecting everything in your life, because everything is energy. And to understand that heart space a little better in this transceiver kind of role, it's interesting to sort of get into a bit more about how it functions and communicates, right? Which starts with like a physical definition of that or a medical definition, right? They talk about the heart as a neurological communication with it that's through the nervous and automatic nervous system, autonomic, sorry. It's also biochemical communication, which is our hormones, biophysical communications through the pulse waves, and energetic communication through the electromagnetic fields. That's the kind of textbook definition of the ways that the heart communicates, right? Biologically with the brain and body in those four ways. And so, you know, it's interesting that even in the scientific or biological based definition, it's talking about the electromagnetic waves, right? It's talking about energy. And, we need that to expand our Wi-Fi signal, to perceive interdimensionally, right? It's so important to have a coherent signal flowing out from us for so many reasons, but mainly also for everything in our daily life, because everything is coming from us. The outer is a reflection of our inner. And, I did mention a little bit about intuition, and I think it's kind of a perception that most people, intuition comes from their third eye, but actually it comes from the heart center. The third eye actually focuses information, but the actual intuitive intelligence itself comes from the heart through the center of our being. And often that comes through feeling. Feeling is hugely important. And it is the way that we are all maneuvering into, feeling our way through reality, feeling our way into certain things. Because feeling is one of like the ways that we actually all operate the best out of. And it is how we're going to be moving forward in as we get further into the space, and you'll feel your feeling senses come a little bit more alive when you're utilizing the heart even more. So more about the heart pillars of communication, because this helps us understand when we are in the heart or when we're not in the heart, and also the importance of it in general, right? So, the heart communication is not necessarily going to be hearing a voice, a booming voice maybe that's going to tell you to do this or that. Hey, this is what you need to be doing. Oh, no, that's not what you should be doing. Doesn't really work like that, okay? So when the heart is communicating, it comes through one of these kind of different pillars. So you may have one or a couple of these or all of them, you may notice, but it's good to note them so that it gives you an idea about how your heart's really wanting to communicate with you. So the heart, talked about the knowing before, it just knows, right? Without even needing to contemplate something, it'll know, and often even before you've been told or it comes into your awareness, is just a true knowing. So it's incredible to utilize this, obviously, in decision making, right? Because there's no doubt, it's a certainty like no other, and you feel it deeply. It just knows. There's not going to be in this wishy-washy, like, pros and cons list or deciding. It's just a certainty. The heart communicates in pictures and images, right? So you may get shown different imprints of things. And maybe one of those is going to connect you to an emotion, because feelings is also a part of this. Genuine feelings of sensations, because tell you what, feelings, guess what, are faster than thought. They travel faster than thought energetically, right? And that shows in the fact that research, which showed the pictures to the people in that study of the heart, and that they were getting an energetic sense of it, a feeling, before they were even shown the picture. Trust. The heart operates on a pillar of trust, right? Because the heart always trusts. And what happens is when you don't trust in general, if you don't trust yourself, for example, you're probably not going to trust the universe. You're not going to trust anything that's happening in your reality. You're not going to trust other people. And it's a circuitous loop of not trusting that happens. And when you don't trust, you generally deny yourself the full experience of what could be, because the heart is going to ask you to trust in the places and things that don't make linear sense, right? Because it doesn't operate like that. It's operating on a totally different spectrum of your experience. It's different, it's creative, it's non-linear. It's not going to be making sense in the black and white way that our mind works, because it is opposite to the mind. So the heart also, is all about authenticity, because it's so deeply connected to our true essence, and when we are deeply connecting with someone and showing them our authentic truth, we're in an open-hearted space. The heart is always vulnerable, and it's going to demand vulnerability of you as well. It literally is going to force you, because it is that space of the uncomfortable unknown. It isn't going to be the space of, feeling like you need to, before you can take the step. It's going to push you into those uncomfortable spaces. So it's going to demand that vulnerability. The heart, interestingly, likes or utilizes or is in alignment with this kind of aspect of storytelling. And interestingly, when we tell a story to others as a way of communicating, it actually bypasses the brain of that other person and goes straight to their heart. So if you are trying to connect with someone, or you're trying to have a difficult conversation, if you can utilize the kind of storytelling in it, that can really help you go direct to the heart when the person is getting tangled in the mind. The heart operates in presence. It's all about the present moment. It is not about the future or the past. They actually literally don't exist. Nothing does truly exist apart from the presence and now. And so, being in the moment, being in true presence is really one of the key things. And heart coherence and coming into the heart space helps you into that space, because that state of presence, that still point within, is actually the 0 point, where the space of everything and nothing, and where we actually create from, when we are powerfully using our creation abilities. The heart is also about imagination, because imagination brings our heart energy into the world. When we're in a creative space, we are often in alignment with our heart. And the imagination really is part of us being connected to our heart field. And you might say, oh, well, I'm not imaginative, or I'm not creative. Well, that's not true, because otherwise you wouldn't be here in this life and you wouldn't be creating in every moment of every day. You are. Maybe your definition of what that is just needs to shift slightly to actually acknowledge that part of yourself and open it up even more. And the heart is non-linear. I mentioned on this before, but it is not going to be rational, logical. It's not going to plan. It's not, trying also to make sense of anything. It's interesting, because anything that shows up as opinions or fears or shoulds or shouldn'ts isn't going to come from the heart. And you should know that you're not in the heart when that's happening. It's the exact opposite of all of that, right? It's illogical. It could be deemed as irrational, but it's actually not. It's, a language of sensing and feeling. It's presence, it's being in the now. It's, being able to embody. And interestingly, when we can embody all of that, that's where you get access to all of the extrasensory information, or the information coming from your divine nature. And what's really even more interesting about that is that actually helps us quantum leap. The quantum leap comes, and they've done all this research in the States about flow state, about how you get into that. And when you are in the flow state, it can actually help you leap 1 billion linear steps, because one move in flow state, when it isn't going to make sense, it's going to be non-linear, all of that kind of stuff actually brings you into, skips all these other linear points, because you're in trust, and you're able to move into that space. So it's asking you to move through life differently, right? This is the power of your heart technology and being in this space of the heart. And it's interesting because, you know, what works against the heart space? Well, the rational mind, because the brain actually has no wisdom, believe it or not. It's a polarized instrument. It's half male, it's half female, it's left, right brain, and it has the ability to will us what we want using will, personal will, not divine will. But also, it has the ability to will us what we don't want because, you know, of the energy and intensity that is created using our mind rather than our heart. And because our mind isn't seeing through our third eye, is not connected to that wisdom, right? And so making sure that the heart and brain are connected is so, so truly important. And, you know, in the sacred space of the heart, you know, when we're in, you know, negative emotional spaces, contracted emotional spaces, we're also going to know that we're probably not in the heart, to be honest. You know, there's nothing wrong with being in those spaces for a while. And a part of the contraction and expansion and that, you know, ebb and flow of life is moving through those spaces, because often we go into contraction to receive more expansion and to move some of the old distorted stuff out of the way as we move through life. So there's nothing to be judged with that at all. And which brings me to my next point, and that judgment is such a critical part, that the heart is never judging. If you're judging yourself, or you're judging anyone else, or you're judging things in the news, judging anything, you're not in your heart. One of the biggest things that we are moving out of is judgment. That is so, 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 so key, because it really gets in the way of you being in your heart. And it's so squarely based in the mind. That's pretty obvious, isn't it? Expectations, again, clearly mind-based, and being in that past future means you're not in the present, and you're not able to tap into all the things that I've been talking about when we are present and we are anchored directly in the heart. And, you know, when we're in that space, that's where we can get access to all the information that is recorded in everything around us. Everything is actually holding way more information about the records of the universe, about records that are related to us from other lifetimes, from other civilizations where we might have tapped into. We are infinite beings. This is not our first rodeo here on this planet, or maybe in other reference points. We leave nuggets of stuff that we come into interaction with, whether it's a stone in nature, a stone being, whether it's a tree that we've worked with in other lifetimes, whether it's any object that's come from elsewhere, whether it's a person. We cannot tap into the expanded levels of information and that gold mine of information that's there for us for our journey. If and it's linked to our purpose, it's linked to who we truly are, it's linked to our essence, you know, and all of that we get to access when we start operating out of our heart technology. That is going to blow up the game for you. I'm telling you what, that is going to really have you be so certain and so grounded in who and what you are. You're going to feel totally different. So I touched on this a little bit, but the things that get in the way of us being in our heart, you know, sometimes these may be referred to as high vibrational versus low vibrational, or positive versus negative, right? I sort of prefer expanded contractive because I'm sort of lacking in, you know, judgment, really, right? Feels less judgmental. But, you know, expanded frequencies, you know, have a nourishing effect in our energy. Others can constrict or dampen our energy fields, and keep us out of our heart. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with experiencing these, right? But if we're in them for a really long time, it's going to affect our vibrational field. So the supposed negative emotions, when we're in extreme stress, or we're going through a really hard time, or we're experiencing a lot of anger, or, you know, resentment from within us, or whatever, that generally is coming from the head, and we can amplify and expand that by going over and over scenarios, you know, scenario thinking, and, you know, like really expanding that anger or annoyance that's within us when we're in those contracted states. Like, it just can. And we're not really taking radical responsibility for ourselves as a created being in all of this through that, are we? No, we are not. So, those states, there's absolutely nothing wrong with them again. And we can use heart coherence and that beautiful heart breath meditation, which we will also go into, to bring ourselves out of those states or to balance them within ourselves. So we can kind of move into the expanded states of appreciation, love, compassion, care, kindness, acceptance, and respect, right? So the other thing we can do is, to bring in more emotional balance is work with opposite frequencies when we are squarely in those. And I know sometimes when we're in the depths of the darkness, we're in a really, it's not the time for that. Nothing is going to help us, right? We can just go for a walk in nature. We can just breathe. But sometimes we're going to be in it for a little bit because we are processing it. It's how we perceive it in that moment. If we're allowing us to flow through it, or we're trying to make it about something, create a narrative or story and a line around it. Well, this is why I felt this way because of this, and this is linked to my childhood and my parents and blah, 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 like that's not really helping us. It's not helping us come into neutrality, which is where we want to be in all of this, right? So all of these things, and especially judgment, is the biggest thing that blocks our ability to live and be in our heart space. And all of these, in the contractor space, they restrict the flow of energy, right? So, we're really wanting to utilize our ability to be with it and process it in the moment and be present with it all, whatever's moving within us. And then also be able to take ourselves and move into these expanded states when we're ready to move, right? When we're ready to like have a shift. And, I experienced periods of depression in my life and really contracted moments. And, when I was a lot younger, I would have those periods for a long time, and my immune system took a hit, mental health obviously takes a massive hit. It really affects your body and being. And so it's really, really fundamental for our general health and well-being to be able to catch ourselves when we're in it and know maybe if there's more work to be done, if we're having a hard time getting out of one of those things. And those states of depression is really when we are going against our soul path, when we're going against our true self, when we're really not wanting to move into the space of trust in our heart. It's a lot of what is happening when we're in a period of depression. I really truly believe it's so much more than what we've been told about that, and we're really going to come into more understanding in the coming years. Yeah, so the heart is also a broadcast energy, right? I talked about that Wi-Fi signal. So when it's, carrying this energy and frequency from us out in the quantum field, when we're in coherence and not in contracted emotions, not in unhappiness and feeling like, there's something wrong with you, then it's much more beneficial to us, because that's how we are bringing and magnetizing into our reality, because it's the largest magnetic field in the body, right? So when we're broadcasting, what do you want to be broadcasting? What do you want to be attracting? Where is your magnetism coming from? And, the heart is part of that. It's not all of our magnetism, especially the womb space, which men and women have the womb space as well, is also part of our magnetics. And the magnetics, when we're in true alignment, is bringing us in exactly what we need, and even when we're out of alignment, it's also bringing us exactly what we need, because it's bringing us stuff to work through to bring ourselves back into the state of pure resonance, the state of the resonance of our frequency within, right? Everything is happening for us. It is happening for us to be able to bring us back into right relationship with our true self and our heart. So, that broadcast energy is everything. And it's how we communicate without even speaking a word, right? Children, nature, that's really, they're reading our energy. Everything is reading our energy, whether you like it or not. And as I mentioned before about how we're getting back into more telepathic or multidimensional nature of our abilities, it's really important, because you can't hide from anything from these things. Whether you recognize it or not, it's already happening. And nature's seeing you for who you truly are, what's going on within you, and are you in an expanded field and perception? Or are you in a bit of a circuitous, like about life and about this and that and judgment and whatever else, right? When we're operating out of wounding, that's what happens. And that's why I do all my work that I do with one-to-one clients to help shift consciousness out of the wounding and stuff that's tripping us up in these consciousness traps, which is also that we're on an endless healing journey in this reality, which we are not. We're not here learning lessons. We're not here writing karma. That's part of the old paradigm that we're moving out of. We are really here as quantum divine creators to show up in our mastery, to anchor specific energetics that we are all specialist in. No two one of us the same, all here for a purpose, and that we can do that through various different ways in our reality. It doesn't need to be through a spiritual purpose like I'm doing right now, or a spiritual business or a healing business at all. It could be happening within a corporate career. In any way that we are showing up in the world is really where it's at, because it's coming from your energy. So, we're really at this pertinent time in history where we're remembering that, and we're remembering how to build bridges of light from the edges of ourself, from the true self, right? And our divine genome that is really squarely sitting within us. And to be able to, reach and bring out our full potential of our being as these really magnificent beings of light that we truly are through our physical vessel, through our human life. It's not to be dismissed as a nothing. We're doing it through each and every moment of our beingness. So, the heart is so important for creation as a creative being, because the heart plus emotion plus vision equals creation, right? And you need vision and emotion to be able to create change in your cells. It's important to be able to create and tap into all of the multidimensional information available as well, and download that to then move into physical creation. So we're using these aspects of our being, our feminine aspects and our masculine aspects, all of which we both have when that comes into alignment, to do it. We use our feminine energy as the intuitive to download the information, and then the masculine to actually put that into action and bring it forward as creation and physical manifestation on this planet. So, the the heart is so much more powerful than the mind in all of this. You got to have your heart to really bring about true creation from the level of your being, which you're truly being called for. And it's so, so, so foundational. The heart, if you want to think about it, I saw a quote that from Rob, I think Children his name is, in the Institute of Heart Math, that if the brain wants to climb Mount Everest, or the brain has a goal, for example, the heart is the base camp that makes it possible. That's really kind of the nut of it, right? And when you are in the heart, you're in greater alignment to all levels of your being, which is really important. And you're in tune with the bigger picture of the evolution of humanity and this planet and everything about it that is relevant for you and your contribution as a key piece in the puzzle. So, how to utilize heart technology. Let's get into what that could look like and what it means. So, when I was doing my vision quest and got led on those 5 years, it was all about how heart technology is being utilized in different ways. So I got taken into alignment exercises, right? Because this is what helps us balance our mental, emotional, physical, and energetic bodies. We can use the heart as a basis for creating alignment within ourselves. It can also be used for, alchemy, purification, recalibration, transmutation, transfiguration, and transforming from one state to another. It is incredible as a portal, right? To access these different dimensions of consciousness, to be operating with the quantum field of possibilities as a gateway to your super conscious abilities, and utilization of your galactic heart consciousness, because we aren't just this human beings on this planet. We are connected to the cosmos, connected into the galactic energies. It is part of who and what each of us are. We're already a conglomeration of all these different energies that you probably haven't even tapped into yet, right? Incredible for visioning. You know, I talked about creation, but visioning, bringing your most aligned timelines for your destiny, embodying that creative energy, seeing interdimensionally, understanding from that perspective, not the mind. So, so, so powerful. It's really incredible, all the ways that you can utilize this heart technology. And we'll get into a experiential way of this, when we move into the space. But all of this is going to be unique to you. You know, I was guided into practices that I share in my work and also in my 6-part heart technology series, with kind of goes into the basics of this and has an activation with each of them. It goes into each of these like much more of a meal around it. So there's that, which also takes you into a bit more of a deep dive into that. But, it's going to be unique for you as well. It's up to all of us to tap into and utilize that imagination where we're being led with our intuition to enable us to really utilize our heart technology in the way that we are expert at, each and every one of us, right? So I start the process by inspiring you and guiding you into these practices and processes. But really, sky's the limit. How can you really manifest this for yourself? And if you're curious, maybe you want to go on a vision quest of the heart and intend for spirit to take you, like what happened to me over those years, since it is such an incredibly fundamental and important part of us utilizing our technology right now. So I also wanted to touch on the big picture relevance, right? Because, why is this so important right now? We're in this movement towards a heart-based society, and from the patriarchal dominated to more matriarchal dominated. And, in different civilizations, there has been a matriarchal dominated, which also is, not in true balance. But we're heavily patriarchy dominated right now, right? And this isn't about a men hating campaign at all. It's about the fact that we're all in our masculine. The women on this planet have been forced into being dominant out of their masculine to even make their way in the world, right? Because the feminine aspects have been denied or put down or made to be nothing, or even, like made into these, awful things with the church and pouring the divine feminine masters who were there, like Mary Magdalene, right? I mean, there's just been such a level of distortion around all of this. And, we really want to show up in all of this as a balanced version of both of those energies. And yeah, we are naturally moving towards this heart-based society. So obviously using heart technology is going to help immensely. But not only that, but our heart field has a ripple effect into the collective in a really, really, really powerful way, right? We are heading back into alignment with a more connected, sacred lifestyle, which is honoring our divine nature. It's honoring our divine destiny and is helping be our unique piece of the puzzle to contribute to the whole. We are in a constant state of evolution and change, right? This is us coming into remembrance of our human potential. And heart technology is taking us there. And as our galactic heart consciousness comes back online, it's really important because of discernment required at this level, especially when you go down into those higher dimensional layers of reality. But also the discernment is so key here, right? And us being in connection with our heart technology, because there's a lot of, illusion and corruption and lack of integrity in what's playing out on the planet, and just, unconsciousness and many, many frequencies that are coming and that aren't true organic frequencies in this reality. We have been bombarded with a lot of them from the beginning of time, essentially. So, it gets really important because, oops, I just skipped back. Because, these aspects of us are, helping us navigate that. And we need to be able to see through the illusion to get clear on who and what we really are in all of this, and help us remain stable through all of the, tumultuous kind of outward things that are taking place on this planet. And when we're in the power of our light, when we're in expansion, we're really showing up in that level that is really helping to send ripples out into the collective and help other people remember their hearts. And we're also moving into the state of unity consciousness. Galactic cosmic consciousness is also another way for this. We're remembering that we are not separate from everything else. We are not separate from all of these consciousness of the cosmos or nature. We're really a part of all of it. And when we can really sink into that space, that's when that galactic heart consciousness comes online. And that is actually latent in our DNA and is going to fire up other aspects of our DNA that we haven't maybe been embodying until now. And isn't that really exciting? It's literally helping the evolution of the planet, basically, in a nutshell. So, heart technology in your daily life. Here is some of the the benefits, really, right? And it has a cumulative effect the more you do it. When you're tapping into the heart in whatever way, it's got all these different benefits, right? So not only does heart coherence on a physical way, like lower your blood pressure, improve your nervous system and your hormonal balance and the brain function, right? Helps balance emotional states and maintain elevated ones, actually, right? Helps you detach from what's going on in the external environment and be grounded in yourself. Um, accessing higher intuitive states, being deeply connected to ourselves, less stressful, more mental clarity, better discernment, right? Decreased stress, more energy, vitality in the system, all of that, right? We are going to be less polarized. We're going to be in less judgment. Feel less anxious. We're going to be more of our true self, right? That's empowering. And that's also the most loving thing we can do for ourselves at this time. That is literally the definition of self-love. You're going to get increased fulfillment and flow state. Your ability to tap into that through being in the present moment more often is also going to be there. And again, this, opening up this interdimensionally experiencing and understanding the layers of reality that aren't just the black and white in front of us, but what's beyond that is also going to transpire through that. Because you're in a state of expanded love, right? And love transcends space and time. And it has the power to change lives. It has the power to alter timelines. It has the power to mend relationships and create rebalancing, recalibration, or if you want to term it healing, then you can talk about that. It can transmute the past, right? And when you can transmute that stuff that's like getting at you from your past, you're actually truly be able to be present, which is creating your ultimate future. And so, when we can actively connect with our heart in some way each day, it has so many benefits. It's just incredible how many benefits you're going to have from this. So, what ways are you going to connect with it? You can do it through journaling. You can do it through heart coherence. You can do it through, writing to your heart and answering questions and listening and see if anything comes. You can do it in meditation. You can do it just by placing your hand there simply and taking a few breaths. It doesn't need to be complicated. It can be bite-sized stuff that is helping you connect to your heart. One day you can wake up in the morning and say, right, heart, I hand over my personality self to you to lead the day today. How would you like us to do life today? Right? Please help me in my meeting today. Please help me navigate my kids. Please help me go to the supermarket and choose what's really in alignment for my body and being and what it really requires at this time. It is just so, so, so powerful that it helps not only on these kind of more esoteric, multidimensional layers of reality I've been talking about, but it helps really in daily life, in the nuts and bolts in the day to day. That is helping us on every level in our body and being. So I hope that this has sort of imparted some of the deep importance of what all this means for you and helps you understand it a bit more and really truly brings you into a contemplation about the magnitude of what all this means for you and how it can help you in life and also how it means in a bigger picture, right? So we're really being called into living life in a new way, living life connected to our heart and led by the heart. And it is truly what is wanting to GPS guide us through these difficult times. And everything that has been working for you currently may have stopped working now. And that's when you're being called into this space, into moving through life in this way, and being able to be more connected to your heart more often and in a more conscious way. So, next, we've got a channeled message. So, I'd like us just to drop into heart coherence to get into this message, right? Because it's going to help you move into a space of listening. It's going to move you beyond the words in the mind and into the heart, and moving into that space of expansion so that you can really imbue not just the words, but what the frequencies and energies are within this that are wanting to connect with you, right? Because it's not linear. This life isn't linear. Nothing about it is. There's layers beyond everything. So I'd like us just to close down our eyes for a moment, right? Just take a nice big deep breath in through the nose. Maybe some things I've said have resonated. Maybe some things have been triggering, or maybe they haven't. Let's just breathe anything out that we want to let go of. Maybe you've come into awareness of old ways of being that you can see how you've been operating out of your heart. Taking a nice breath in and breathing out gently. Letting go, letting things release, coming into a place of centeredness and calm. And so the first state is slowing down the breath. The first, step in heart coherence is breathing in and breathing out slowly. Just slowing down the breath, slower on the out breath than the in breath. And even in 5 to 7 breaths of this, you'll start to feel it. So breathing in, breathing out, slowing down the breath. And one more of those. So completing the first step, which is always to slow down our breath. And the next step is to bring our focal point to our heart. So whether you are putting your hand there, or whether you're just focusing your attention into the center of your chest or into your heart itself, and then continuing those slow, deep breaths, slower than usual, but focusing this time into the heart. You may even imagine the heart breathing in through your chest and then breathing out through your chest as well. That helps you focalize into that space, breathing in, breathing out. I can already feel a shift in my physical vessel. I can already feel my space and become into a centeredness and calmness. I can already feel things relaxing, and I can feel the energy shifting by breathing and focusing into the heart. And then the third step, the really simple step in heart coherence, is literally to now start to consciously create states of upliftment or expansion, right? So whether you can get into something that is joyful for you, whether it's a favorite place in nature or just simply something that makes you smile. Like often go to little baby animals, right? Because who doesn't think that they're cute? If you're not an animal person, use nature. But moving into that space, still focusing in your heart, but intending now to connect into. If you're not visual, it doesn't matter. You can just intend to, when you've been in the presence of nature or an animal, feel into that space, right? You're literally consciously creating, in whatever way works for you, these uplifting feelings. And if you can't do any of that, can you move into gratitude? What are you grateful for today? The sky above, maybe a roof over your head, maybe just being in having 5 minutes all this time to do this presentation to yourself. Whatever it is, you can also use gratitude. That is still going to do it. But if you can really get into the more joyous states of upliftment, appreciation does it, excitement does it, but gratitude also does it. if you can facilitate those feelings within you, create them consciously within, while focusing into your heart and slowing the breath, in just even a couple of minutes, you are going to be in heart-brain coherence. And the longer you can do it, the better it is. But even just 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, you're already creating that space of heart coherence within you. You are harmonizing all of your bodily functions on the biological level. You're also harmonizing your emotions, and you are harmonizing your energy layers of your field. And you're also getting your heart into a coherent signal to communicate with everything else. How are you feeling? Right? That is a simple heart coherence. Slowing down the breath, focusing into your heart space, and then consciously creating feelings of uplifting nature or gratitude to create a different sense change within yourself. It's all you're doing. It's very, very simple. And you can do it eyes open or eyes closed. I've done it in the middle of a meeting before and nobody knew I was doing it. You can do it in traffic. You can do it anywhere, taking a minute. But the more that you take those moments, those few minutes to get into heart coherence, the more you're going to cumulatively build that within your system. And it has a profound effect in yourself and your daily life. So now we're going to move into this channeled message. And, close down your eyes if you'd like to. This is, again, from my presentation in December last year at the Cosmic Consciousness Conference. So yeah, I'm just going to read now. Often it's important just, you connect to the heart to get out of the mind, right? That's why we did that heart coherence practice before diving into it. And again, be open to receive, have the intention to absorb the energy and wisdom that wants to connect with you. It's often, again, not the words, it's the vibrational frequency of the whole that would like to attune you. And, I often hear that people don't necessarily understand the message or the words. And clients keep reading it and reading it. And one day it just lands within, they just get it. They get the knowing, right? The wisdom completely floods in. The message frequency actually lands after building for a while and they feel it. And they've downloaded it every time they've read it, right? So just open, allow the energy to do the work. If it resonates or not, just allow the frequency in, because maybe there's something outside of what your frame of reference is currently that wants to connect to you. And ultimately, you can continue reading this, actually, if it felt good for you in the coming weeks or, whenever else feels good, to align with your divine blueprint, to align with your heart, and maybe activate those expanded parts of yourself that you're wanting to dive into. So here we go. It is through the truth of who you are that you shall find salvation for this world. For in actuality, there is nothing to be saved and no salvation required. You, as your unadulterated cosmic consciousness, is automatically liberated from such ideas born from the limited constructs of your current experience of reality. Feel the frequencies associated with this idea diffusing and dissolving through you now. Let go of any idea other than the utmost perfection of all that is in every given moment. Your mastery is maintained through it all. And as your awareness shifts out of the many consciousness traps of this reality, you will reclaim the frequency of your mastery and the divine knowing of this true aspect of you. The you from beyond time and space is asking for you to surrender into the absolute trust of your heart. And as you loosen the chains of the mind and personality self, attached to everything you think you know, more will open up to you. As your perspective shifts into an interdimensionally dominant view through your awakened galactic heart consciousness, relief is gained through expanded perception. A deep knowing of the intricately wired nature of this reality is anchored in your heart. Take a breath now and slowly release any resistance to letting go of all false constructs that pervade your consciousness in this moment. Neutralize with acceptance and love from within. Breathe alchemical light from your heart through all of your energy signature now. Do you realize you are the only and ultimate truth? Can you recognize the holiness that resides within the temple that you are? It is time to consecrate great knowings from the bounty within the depths of you. Take a breath of light now, of pure, pristine source creator consciousness. Intend to bring in pure abstract frequency above and beyond any matrices or templates in current existence. Draw this down into your heart, into the compressed data packets of your codex that lies within. For it is here, in your deepest acknowledgement of self as ultimate truth, that the contents will be opened and energetics that carry the multidimensional resonance of who and what you truly are unfolds through expanded echelons of light. Feel as you create the availability within you for more of what you are in truth, which was here all along. So take a breath. Just allow all of that to land within you. You might need to go back and rewind and have another, interaction with this. That is an active message. It has some practice in there for you to connect with these layers of your being and for you to just receive energy, an energy upgrade within yourself in this moment and allow you to detach from everything other than what you are in truth. So I hope you enjoyed that message. And now we're going to move into an activation to help you unlock your divine potential. Now I'm just going to also turn on the sound so that I can play some background music of some frequency heart music for us as we go into this activation. So I suggest don't do this if you're driving. Probably you want to be in a quiet space. So maybe pause and come back to this at a later date if you are listening to this on the move. But we're going to move into one of my activations. And what this is a multidimensional activation using all of your bodies of light to help you unlock your divine potential. So I use heart technology, sound, light, sacred geometry, and it doesn't matter if you're not visual, your intention is everything, but I'm guiding you to create this for yourself, right? Sacred geometry is like a QR code for your consciousness. So if there's any sacred geometry that comes in here that you feel you understand a definition of, I want you to just surrender and release that, because they're actually much more pure than that. They're not all of the layers of potential meaning that have been given by the human experience, but they are a QR code for your consciousness in the infinite space that wants to help you recalibrate your being, right? But it requires for you to release some of these things, these false constructs that channeled message was talking about, in order to work in the pure organic templates, which is what we want to be doing. We want to be working outside of the constructs of this reality and everything that has been born from something else within it, right? Sacred geometry and, like even the Platonic solids are the building blocks of this reality. And, everything has been attributed meaning to it. And some of it's just not even correct. So I want you to just, utilize and intend to bring it in as an organic piece of coding from the universal source consciousness, and no other meaning to be applied to it, right? So, every time we do these activations, I'm guiding you to activate you. I'm not here doing anything else. Yes, different beings and consciousness comes and work to inform this for you to get access to, for you to do the work for yourself. It's like a souped up guided meditation. Again, if you're not visual, it doesn't matter. Use your intention or just intend for it to be happening. And we also invoke our multidimensional mastery part of us to kind of hand over, right? The mind and the personality self needs to just be in the back seat really of this experience. And, every time we do this work, every time you recalibrate your being, and you move from the mind to heart, and you balance the self, and you shift out of density and transcend shadow patterns and reconnect your true self, you are in the frequency of liberation, right? And we're not just doing it for us. It's not just a personal thing here. You're doing it for your ancestral lineage. You're doing it for all humanity. We're doing it for this planet, and we're doing it for the cosmos too. We're doing it for everything. Everything is so multi-layered, and the effects are beyond what you can perceive with your linear mind. It's really quite fantastic how, when we are doing this work, how we are gifting that to everything. And in such, everything is returning to its rightful place in the true divinity that it is in this cosmos and beyond, right? So we are going to, move into this activation, which is going to include a 0-point heart technology practice. I'm just going to pop up these bits of sacred geometry in here so that you can just have a little, if you are visual, you can have a little reference point. These are the things that just I see in my mind's eye, they channel through. There's the simple figure 8 here, or the infinity loop, which is incredibly powerful. We've also got the pentagram, a 5-pointed star in the circle here. We've also got the tesseract, a hyperdimensional geometry. I never had any idea what this was until it came through in an activation. I had to Google it because I thought they were talking a bunch of rubbish. And then here we have this 8-pointed star, I think. A rainbow 8-pointed star. That's probably not the greatest kind of picture, but it's the only one I could find. So, we're going to be, working with these. And again, just if anything else comes in, please follow your own intuition and add in whatever you need to in this practice, because you may need to go on your own journey. And you won't miss out on anything that we're doing either. I do want to be clear about that. You're multidimensional, you can do multiple things at multiple times. So here we go. I hope everyone can hear that music. So just taking a breath now and breathing into your heart space. We're going to get back into that beautiful centered heart space that we were in before we read the channel message. So closing down your eyes if you haven't done so already, and just breathing into the space of the heart, and then breathing out gently, letting go of anything that might have cropped up within you. You might have felt crunchiness with anything that I've said, and of course just take what resonates and just release the rest. It's all good. We're all here connecting with different parts of each other for different reasons, right? Not everything's going to resonate for everybody. But if you breathe in, breathing in your heart space, and breathing out gently, nice and slow. And as you breathe in, you're just going to command all of our energy back from all dimensions, time and space, right? Back into this body now. So we're working with the fullness of our energy signature. And you might feel your energy feel a bit more back in your body when you do this. And breathing in, and imagine the soles of your feet plugging into the new earth grids, or the organic grids of the earth, right? And in this moment also intend to unplug anywhere you may be connected to the collective consciousness. We're going to also, as we breathe in, invite our mind to take a back seat and focus into our heart now, into our incredible portal of wisdom and and light. So let's breathe in gratitude for what we are being shown, or what's being transmuted, and maybe what we're seeing. And allow ourselves to have gratitude for showing up in this moment, to take time for us, to breathing in gratitude and just breathing out gently, focusing into your heart space with the energy of your heart expanding now with every breath. Allowing yourself to feel that light in your heart, that spark of light that you are, just expanding with every breath. As you feel into the still space in between, that 0 point energy that I've been mentioning. So on your next breath, with that expanded illumination in the center of your chest, I want you to breathe that heart energy, that light, all the way down your central channel, down through your solar plexus, your sacral root, down through your legs and feet, and send it deep down into the earth. Sending that light from your heart all the way down further and further through all the layers of mud, silt, clay, volcanic rock, crystal, all of it. The deeper layers of the inner earth, all the way down deeper and deeper until you actually get to that crystalline core of the earth, the center of the planet, and that beautiful energy contained within it. So just connecting into that beautiful heart of the planet. Mr. Puss, if anyone can hear him in the background, my beautiful cat. He likes being here for the activations. And so allowing that light from your heart to connect in with that magnetic core, the heart of the earth, and allowing yourself to plug into it, really feeling anchored and grounded in the space, allowing your heart to feel grounded into it. So plug into it, or wrap that light around it, or whatever you need to do to just anchor there. And we're just, through that cord of light that we've created, we're going to start to bring energy in, because we're inviting the energy of Gaia Sophia to come up through us into the layers back the way we came. Through the layers, mud, silt, and clay, all the way back up. Through the core of the earth, back into the soles of our feet, traveling that light all the way up through into our knees and legs, allowing it to come back through the lower chakras and then flow into the heart. You may like to see that beautiful earth energy flowing in a figure eight in a horizontal manner in the center of your chest and that heart space, intending for that beautiful light to be merging in with you, now connected with that 0.1 hertz into the earth, your heart now beating in alignment with the earth, feeling yourself, feeling your heart beating with the heart of the planet, and how good it feels to feel synchronized, calm and clear. And then let's invite that energy, that beautiful energy of the heart and us that's melded together, to move up from our heart space into our high heart, just below our clavicle there, and into the throat, all the way up through the head and those upper chakras, 5 chakras above the head even, sending it right through that. And we're going to use the suns of this universe for alignment. So I want you to move that energy through the center of our sun, moving it through to a second etheric sun beyond that, moving through to the central sun, and then the great central sun, where you pop out into the heart of the cosmos. So really now connecting into the heart of the cosmos here. Can you feel that heartbeat of the cosmos connecting with you? And I want you to just intend to magnetize everything that's relevant to you from the cosmos, all of the frequencies and energies that you're working with, call them back with you and call into that source created consciousness energy to be with us and travel through, back down, bringing some of it through that line that you've created, through that energy corridor, from the great central sun to the central sun to the second sun and our sun, spiraling back down through our atmosphere, all the way through your upper chakras above your head into your crown, third eye, flowing down through the face into the throat, and then back to your heart. So you're essentially got an open channel of light flowing above and below. So maybe that light continues from the heart of the cosmos all the way down into the earth, and then the heart of the earth also flowing right through that channel freely to the heart of the cosmos. And as you find yourself in the center of it, back in your heart, just feeling your heart now really connected, and maybe taking a figure eight in a vertical space this time in the center of your chest with that cosmic heart energy, and just tracing that to create a four-petaled rose, and then allowing that to start to spin in the center of your heart space. And this is where, when we drop into that space of the heart, allowing and intending and inviting the divine intelligence in all things, that pure creator consciousness, into this space, and invoking the frequency of miracles and magic to flow through our intentions and align with our divine nature. Right? Let's invoke and invite our multidimensional mastery forth. So we're invoking our ascended master aspect of self, our archangelic aspect of self, our high priest or priestess aspect of self, our galactic aspect, our elemental self, and the aspect of self that is embodying the Hieros Gamos, or the sacred marriage of divine feminine and masculine within, and our ultimate organic template of light. Let's also invite forth our divine entourage and ancestors of each and every one of us here. All of the beings and consciousnesses of the galactic collectors and the highest divine law and order into this space that is supporting these energetics. I often invite and invoke the 12th dimensional Pleiadians that I work with a lot, or the Andromedan Galaxy High Council, the Orion Council of High Nine, and the Great White Brotherhood. But really, it's all just aspects of our expanded self. And whether we take them like that or not, all we're intending for is the most profound, pure, pristine energy supporting us, that is in alignment with the divine plan on earth as in the heavens, and is overlighted by our multidimensional mastery to operate in this space and support us now to come into connection with our divine template and activate it into the next level of our beingness, for us to bring it onto this planet in a new way. So let's just give permission on all layer of our being for our frequency to be raised in this moment, and for us to feel and invite in the energies and consciousnesses in this sacred space to help us connect, expand, recalibrate, and command our energy in a way that is most beneficial for us. So now we're going to spin all of our chakras in the 15 chakra system, starting with our Earth Star chakra below our feet, 30 centimeters below. I want you to spin the ball of light there in a clockwise direction. It's the same way as the clock face. And then moving up to your root chakra, at the base of your spine, spin that one in a clockwise direction. Moving up into your sacral, just at the belly area there, the belly button, spin that in a clockwise direction. Moving up into the solar plexus, spin that in a clockwise direction now, the ball of light. Spin the ball of light in your heart, spin the ball of your high heart and your throat, all spinning these balls of light in a clockwise direction. Moving up from your throat into the causal, at the back of the head, at the base of the neck, spin that, and then up into the third eye and the crown. So you've got all these beautiful spinning balls of light in a clockwise direction. And then just above your crown, you've got your soul star. Give that a spin. Above that, your stellar gateway chakra. Above that, universal gateway chakra. Above that, your cosmic gateway chakra. Spinning all those balls of light in a clockwise direction, giving those a bit of an energy boost now. And finally, your interstellar ultraversal gateway chakra, fifth above your head. So you've got all of these beautiful 15 balls of light spinning in a clockwise direction. And I just give any of the sluggish ones a bit of a spin now. It could be those lower ones that can be a little bit more sluggish, to give them an extra spin. Because on the count of 3, we're actually going to take a breath and allow all of those chakras spinning to collapse and merge into one big star of diamond light in your heart space. Okay? So I'll count us in. 1, 2, take a breath. And then remembering and bringing all this into an explosion of diamond light in your heart space. And feel this light blast out through your bodies of light and the entirety of your auric field now. Rippling continuous waves of energy and light, radiating through and recalibrating your field in this moment. And we're now just breathing and allowing, and we're going to use toning of sound in the ah, like a vowel sound, ah, to accentuate this even more. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, take a breath. Ah. Clearing the field, recalibrating in the moment. As we now move into a 0-point heart technology practice, which is called the 369 heart technology practice. Coming back to your heart with all of that cleared field, diamond light rippling through us. I want you to imagine yourself throwing out a beautiful infinity loop with your heart at the center, right? I want you to loop back down to the earth like we did before, and then up to the cosmos, just imagining this now as an infinity loop with your heart in the center, the earth in one end of the infinity loop and the heart of the cosmos in the other. And that's balancing our human nature and our infinite nature, right? So allow that line, energy line. I use gold. I love gold light. Allowing that to just loop down to the center of the earth, back through our heart, up to the heart of the cosmos, back down through our heart. And make sure you use the back and the front of your heart. When it comes back down, go into the back of your heart. It's really important to involve the back. And then allow that to continue. And then we're going to add another infinity loop on top of that, from left to right. So throw an infinity loop of golden light out to your left side, just into the ether as far as you can. Allow it to loop back around and back through the back of your heart, and then right out into the right side. So this is bringing in masculine, feminine balance, and actually balancing any lives where we have masculine, feminities out of balance, just making that intention clear, right? And balancing our masculine, feminine sides in this lifetime as well. So you've got an infinity loop above and below, you've got one left to right. We're going to add in another one now, this time, for balancing our future and past, right? Or parallel lifelines and timelines to bring us into a 0 point. So throw out a huge loop, infinity loop, loop through all your future or potential timelines, and allow it just to go out into the ether, out into the quantum field, and then bringing it back through you, back through the 0 point of your heart, and allow it to throw all the way out through the back, connecting with all these past or parallel timelines that are operating at the same time, really. We just kind of think of it as the past, but it's also balancing this forward backwardness of that we kind of have in this linear kind of way, and it's working with the mind in that linear way to kind of allow it to understand and calm down a little bit, right? But like now you're going to have your above and below, left and right, front and back infinity loops working through you with your heart at the center, right? So just feel all of those. Allow the energy to flow through those lines of light, intending for it to bring balance into all those aspects. And you'll notice that it will start to vibrate from your heart even more. And it may also turn into a 3D geometry, right, around you in some kind of way. Almost, I see it as like an atom, like with those loops of the atom, but also it can be a star tetrahedron or the Merkaba kind of type quite technology. It could also turn into something else. It also could be some kind of dodecahedron, you know, the 12-sided kind of form of universal ether. But just allow those lines to start maybe moving and activating, maybe starting to spin and oscillate, right? From this space pulsating through your heart and your auric field. Just allow it to happen. You don't need to force or try, and maybe you just allow and you don't even need to understand or interpret or see what is happening at all. But just know that whatever is perfect for you in this moment is taking place, overlighted by your multidimensional mastery, with that mind in the back seat getting out of the way. And you'll notice that it pulls you deeper into the 0 point space. I find I get really grounded into that still point within. And from this space, I want you to call and command forth the energy or frequency of the vision of your galactic heart consciousness to activate your divine template for you in your year to come, wherever you find this. Right now we're in 2025, but this will be relevant in any time you find this. So activating your divine template for your next part of your journey. And so just sending that pulsating through. And this is where we're going to bring in a violet colored pentagram birthing from your heart space through that 0 point. And I want you to send that into the quantum field to clear any distortions that may have been thrown up from this, because we send those big intentions. It will naturally just uplift anything that needs to be shifted or rebalanced or alchemized out of our way. So I want you to send this violet colored pentagram spinning into the quantum space to clear any and all distortions that may have been thrown up, or anything that is already in existence from anything else that maybe is a distortion of your inorganic template or connection to the inorganic collective template that is in fruition in those kinds of structures of reality. Because what we're going to do is wield that violet colored pentagram to do that now, right? So calling all the energy from all the different dimensional spaces that your mastery is inhabiting at this time now, across multiple realities, possibilities and potentials and timelines, to merge as one through the sacred sound of Hue, which we're going to tone now. So 1, 2, take a breath. Hue. Open to and invite and feel the energy that is aligned with you, and the new, and the vision from your galactic heart consciousness that's clearing the way for it to come into your field. Intend to connect with it, right? Through this technology that we've been utilizing with our light being, right? And intend that you are connecting out into the beyond, that everything is weaving itself back together now with actually rainbow codes that you are going to be tapping into. Now I want you to start this energy, start to feel this energy mingling with you in a more visceral way. Feel into it in an abstract way. Invite in your key codes, invite in organic geometries, invite in sacred energetics that you're holding in different dimensional levels of time. Invite in your organic templates of light to be activated and awakened for you in this moment. Sha, shu, sha, ha, ha, ha. Breathing, right? Breathing out gently as we call forth a crystalline, pearlescent rainbow tesseract, that hyperdimensional geometry I showed you, that is actually traveling to you from the heart of the cosmos. I want you to imagine this coming from the heart of the cosmos through all those suns and down through your chakra column into your crown and anchoring in your heart. That beautiful hyperdimensional geometry in a pearlescent rainbow color. And I want you to allow it to be there for a minute, vibrating and bringing it. Once it's sort of felt like it's vibrating and centered in your being, I want you to now bring it down into your solar plexus. Allow it to vibrate and pulsate any frequencies out from your pulse to help your solar plexus in this moment. And then down into the root at the base of your spine. Right. So this is where I want you to feel everything that may have been coming in, whether it's known or unknown, conscious or unconscious. I want you to feel the energies that are wanting to interact with you, that everything that we've been gathering and calling forth in this activation that's been coming forth to be anchored now in your root. Right? And allowing that rainbow tesseract to now birth that rainbow-coloured 8-pointed star that is beyond actually the colour definitions of this reality. It's actually beyond any kind of colour. It's colours from another dimensional reality that are not identified here. And I want you to see that 8-pointed star and these higher dimensional colours, colours of the new world, colours of the new way of being, colours of your divine self, actually now being sent up through that 8-pointed star into these lower chakras, spinning in a clockwise direction. So moving through from your root, allowing that 8-pointed star to spin clockwise, and then up to your sacral, allowing it to just be there and spin clockwise, and then up to your solar plexus, spinning clockwise, and then anchoring back into your heart. Taking a breath here, breathing out, tapping on your heart drive with your fingers, tapping in, actually reprogramming this technology, intending for it to continue as long as necessary and optimize within your field in the coming minutes, days, weeks, or months ahead for you. If you feel like you need to just close down the technology we created, you can do it, but we want it to optimize in the natural time scale for our body and being, where we're at, right? Not trying to force it, squeeze it into this time of the activation. So we're intending for it to operate as long as possible, but if that doesn't feel good to you, you can just bring it all back into a collapsed little technology chip in your heart space and just allow it to be there. So then, as we just start to come to completion, I want you to come into gratitude for all of the different consciousness and energies that have been working with us. Most of all for our divine mastery and our multidimensional self, our multidimensional mastery that has been overseeing this whole activation for us from our body and being in all layers, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And just intend for this to radiate out through our activation of ourself and reconnection to our divine nature, into all beings that we come across, out into the earth, sending it into the grids, so what we've just created now, sending it into those beautiful organic earth grids that we connected to, and allow it to connect into the cosmos as well, completing this circuit. Taking another breath, maybe just rolling your head from side to side now, wiggling fingers and toes, slowly coming back if you've been anywhere else. And when you're ready, just opening your eyes and coming back into the room and joining me back here. Just turn down this music. Whew. So I certainly felt the power of that. I hope you did too, and I hope you enjoyed that experience. Yes, it's just been a really beautiful time sharing this with you. I think I've definitely gone a little bit long. I have no idea how long this is right now, but I just wanted to get it all in, and I didn't want to limit myself to a time scale, right? So, you know, you can come back to that activation and repeat it again whenever you like. You can come back to the channeled message also. And I just wanted to finish with this quote from Robert Edward Grant. When the heart thinks and the mind feels, then the river of wisdom flows. How beautiful. And so this is where you can find me if you're new here. You can find me on Instagram at Facebook at I am Joanna Walden. You can find me at joannawalden.com. You know, I do all sorts of different stuff, you know, retreats, transformational travel tours, connecting into sacred sites, everything based in heart technology. You know, my 2 books, you've already heard about are on Amazon. I'm all about the human potential, connecting you with the true self, with consciousness coaching and coaching and mastery mentoring, and getting yourself back into resonance of yourself. There's a lot of alchemy that happens when you come into contact with my frequency, and real activation into these other layers that are there for all of us, which I'm incredibly passionate about. So thank you so much for joining me today. I had some other references just for some of the bits and pieces that I'd put into the presentation. But I hope that that was beneficial for you. Again, I love hearing your feedback, so do get in touch. If you're finding this soon and in this time scale, I'm doing a heart deep dive, which is all about using heart technology for stability and to move out of chaos in April. So look for the link below this video so that you can connect in for that. I also have my heart technology 6-part series that I did quite a while ago now. So it's half price for anybody who wants to dive into those different pillars that I mentioned, using heart technology for alignment, for alchemy. It takes you through more of a deep dive into each one of those, and an energy activation like we just did for each one also. So it's a pretty powerful series. So I'll also put the link for that back in the comments. And thank you again for joining me. Do sing out, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're into all this. I've got some other amazing activations and interviews and all sorts. And thank you again for being here and for your presence. And I hope that this has served you in the perfect way today. Sending tons of love, and I will speak to you soon.